Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. Today I'll be explaining about my artificial intelligence final assessment. This is the video presentation as requested. So first of all, I'm already sharing my screen, so I'll go to my tabs to show my explanation. So first of all, in order for us to be able to use the library, in order for us to actually conduct this project, there are certain files or certain image that we have to import. So the first thing which I did was I imported or I downloaded images from my gallery. So once I downloaded those images from my gallery, I copied them and pasted them inside my project. I created a folder here, images, and I have all the images I have used here to do my project. So as you can see here, this is one of the images when I double click on it, and this is another one here. So I put in multiple images, and based on all that, I decided to use one of them into the presentation. Okay, so those are the images. I placed them in a directory or in a folder. I named it as images. To create this directory, I will just go to the project name, then here new, and then new directory, and I will be able to create this folder, and I can paste in my images in there, copy paste and place them here. The next thing I did was to create a project file. I created two files actually. One is basic and the other one is face recognition family. Basic, this one I used it to compare images. What I mean by images, once I this file is going to compare two images loaded into the file and see whether they are the same person or they are not the same person. At the same time, it's going to give us the value or like the percentage or like how similar those pictures are. Next thing, in order for us to actually perform this face recognition thing, there are certain libraries or packages that we have to download, we have to install into our project. Those ones are there are 4 packages. In order to install them, we need to first go to File, Settings, and then here we have to come to Project. Under Project here, as you can see, we have 2: Python interpreter and project structure. In some laptops or some not really some laptops, in some depending on the Python version you are using, some of them instead of Python interpreter it says project interpreter, but for mine it's already saying Python interpreter. So once I double click on it, I'm going to come here to the plus sign here, and I'm going to add the libraries that I have to add. So once I click on the library I want, for example, let me say dlib. Okay, let's say I click on this. So I'm going to click here. If I want to specify a version, I will specify it here. Then I'm going to install my package. But then since I have already done this step, I don't have to install them again. I'm just going to show you from the directory here, from the Python interpreter, the packages I've downloaded. So the packages I have downloaded are dlib, CMake, face recognition, NumPy, and OpenCV Python. I have downloaded those ones. And also one note, NumPy, we have to use version 1.19.3, because if you use version 1.19.4, I have been using it earlier, I was getting errors. It could not find the NumPy, it could not find the OpenCV, wasn't working. And once I searched about it, they said that it's usually because that version has few errors, so and it's not compatible, so we have to use a lower version, which is 1.19.3. Okay, so once I have already installed my packages, I'm going to click on OK. So here for this folder, the basic one, first I'm going to import my CV2 from the OpenCV library, and then import face recognition. This is a library that we specifically use in Python or in PyCharm to be able to recognize faces in images. So I have I created 2 variables here, image Faizah and image test. These images, what they're going to do, I'm going to use a function called load image file. This load image file is going to read the image the images in the image directory, in the image folder, depending on the image I want to read. So in this case, I am reading two images, which is Faizah.jpeg. This is the picture. It's in the folder images. The specific file name is Faizah.jpeg. And the next one is images. It's the Rihanna.jpg. This is the image I'm going to compare and find the similarity, whether it's the same person or no, and how similar are the two pictures, and how similar are the two pictures. Next, once I have already found and loaded the images, I have to convert those images. Why? Because those two images, they are in BGR format. What I mean in BGR format means if I show those images, it's going to be in blue color. So I have to change it from BGR to RGB, which is the format that PyCharm understands the colors and displays them as their original color. To do this, I'm going to use a function in the CV2 library called CVT color. And I'm going to specify the image I want to convert, and then I'm going to specify the exact function, which is CV2 color BGR to RGB. So I will first show how if I do not convert them, the images, they will actually be looking like this. Let me run this file. This one I have already done the codes to show how the images will actually be. Wait. This one I was trying to resize. Wait. Okay, let me just remove this resize part. Okay. So I'm just going to change a few things. Okay. So once I'm going to run this file, you're going to see that the original color of the images is going to be blue. So let me remove this. Okay, this part is all not important. Let me just. I'm going to run it. Oh, sorry, I have to comment this part. This big. So as you can see, the images are in blue color. So I need to change it from BGR, which is blue, green, red, to RGB, which is red, green, blue. That's why I use the function here from the CV2 library to convert. So next, once I have converted my images from BGR to RGB, next I am going to determine a variable called face location, LOC. This variable is going to, what it will do, it's going to use a function from the face recognition library, and once it actually takes, it's going to locate the face in a picture, meaning here face underscore recognition dot face underscore location, I have the image Faizah. So in this case, this function is going to try and find the face in the image Faizah, which is the image here. So it's going to try and find the face, because in this image we have more than one thing, so it's going to try and locate the face. So the next thing, since this is an array, so I'm going to specify the element. Since we're only using one image, so the element is going to be 0. Next, I'm going to encode this picture. What does encode mean? Encoding means that this function is going to try and determine all the important things about the picture, like the spaces between the eyebrows. Like, it's the algorithm to help to determine the face and like recognize the face more. For example, it's going to keep in the spaces between the eyebrows, the eye color, how the eyes are, and the skin tone and things like that. So next, I'm going to draw a rectangle on the face. Once it locates the face, I'm going to draw a rectangle on this face. So I have the image and I'm going to locate the face. The edges of the rectangle are going to be around the edges of the face. So I determine the face location 3, 0, 1, 2. So those will be the edges of my rectangle, and I have specified the color here to be 2550255, which is purple color, and the thickness of this rectangle I set it to be 2. So if I set it to be 3, it's going to be bigger, it's going to be more thick. So if I set it to 1, it's going to be thin. So depending on the thickness I did. And I'm going to do the same thing, find the location, encode and add a rectangle in the task image I have. Next, I'm going to try and find the results of my work. So the result, I created a variable result, and I'm going to use a function from the face recognition library called compare faces, and And in this case, I am going to compare two images, which is encode Faizah and encode test. So it's going to compare those two images and see whether they are the same or no. So if they are the same person, it's going to have the output for me as true. If it's not the same person, then it's going to display false to me. Next, I have created another one called face distance. I'm using the face distance function from the face recognition library. This one is going to see how similar the images are. Okay, so I'm going to print my results. So I'm going to add the text on the image, on the test image. I'm going to display the result, which is either true or false, and the distance, whether how similar those two images are, and I'm going to round it off because it's going to be a long number of decimals. So I round it off to 2 decimal places. And then I set the fonts. I imported it from the CV2 library as well, Hershey Complex. And I set the scale to be 1, the thickness to be 2, and the color, it is a blue color in this case. So lastly, for me to display my image, I'm going to use a function called InShow from CV2 library, and thus I'm going to show those 2 images. One important thing is I have to use the wait key from the CV2 library, because if I did not set my wait key in this case, what will happen is, in this case I set it as 0, means it's infinity, means the picture is going to stay there until I close it. If I did not set any value here, let's say I set it as 1, and I run my project, the thing is it's going to open and close directly. This means the delay of the image, how long it's going to be on my screen. So once I run it here, see? Okay, see, it's open and closed directly. I couldn't see it. So in this case, I'm going to turn it back to 0 and then run my project again. Okay, as you can see, it already compared those 2 faces. This is the face location. This is the edges we have determined. It's focusing on the face only, on both faces, as you can see here. The image, the color of the box is purple, as we have specified. And in this case, since it's not the same person, I got my result once it's compared to be false. And how similar are those 2 is 0.3. So means they're not similar. The higher the number, the more difference there is between the 2 images. Why is my text box? Why is my text on this specific image? It's because I set it to be displayed on the test image. There is another thing. So those 2 people, they are complete, like they are already, how do I say it? It's already clear that they're not the same person. However, if I use another picture, I change the test image to be using one of my siblings, the thing that happens, which I have tested multiple times, it keeps on showing that they are the same person. The similarity is true, the comparison. Why? Based on what I have searched, it can be because of like we are siblings and so on. So we obviously look alike. So that's why it's displayed as true. Okay, so this is an example here. This is a picture of my sister, and this is mine. So it displays here as true, and how similar it is 0.5. So you can see the higher the number means they are not similar. It's different, but in this case, although it's 2 different people, the comparison done, it still shows that it's true and it's 0.59. So what I can say is that the face recognition here, the comparison of this, in this section or in this file is not very accurate, because it's not the same person, but because they are similar, because we are siblings, it's still detected as true for both of us. Okay, this is basically for my first part. So my second file here, I have it. It's a Python file as well. It's called FaceRecogintion_family. So in this case, I am basically going to use almost the same steps as what I have done previously. But the difference in this case is going to be the way I am going to read my files and how I'm opening my webcam. So first of all, for this, I'm going to use certain libraries. I'm going to use the OS library. I'm going to import the date and time. I'm going to use the CV2 library. I'm going to import my face recognition library. And I'm going to use my NumPy library as NP. So first of all, I am going to load my images. But instead of me loading them one by one, using the previous step that I had used here, using the load image file function. Then in this case, I am going to read them as a list. I'm going to read them as a list. So I am going to first, the path I want to read is from the faces folder here, called the folder or the directory is called faces. I have 3 images in it, which is mine and 2 of my other siblings. The next, I created an array called images. I created 2 arrays called images and class name. So I am going to create a list. My list is going to read from the, I'm going to use the OS directory. I'm going to list in the path. So whatever is in the path is going to be reading here. It's going to be reading the files inside my path. So in this case, how am I going to read them? I'm going to read them this way. So once I print my list, it means that it's going to read the file. So it's going to actually read it this way. It's going to be, the output here is going to be Faizah.jpeg, Musa.jpg, and Sultan1.jpg. So let me run first to show my output from that side. So run. So here in this list that I have created, as you can see here, it's already reading my files. Those 3 files under the faces directly or the faces folder. Next, what I am going to do is, okay. So next, what I am going to do is, okay, this error is not important now. So next, what I am going to do here is, once the image is displayed for me, I don't want the image to be displayed with this thing. As you can see here in my output, I have here Faizah.jpeg, Musa.jpg, Sultan.jpg. I don't want those JPEG, the file type, to be displayed. So what I am going to do is I am going to append and split the text so that only the name is going to be displayed without the file type. So as you can see here, once I used for CL, I'm going to use looping here. So it's going to open each file and it's going to cut it and remove the file type. I'm going to split the text. So I'm going to use the class names here. So why did I use the class names here? As you can see, it's going to, so once I do this and I print it, I'm going to get only the name of the file, which is Faizah Musa Sultan 1. Next, I'm going to encode my images. So I'm going to define a method which is going to encode the images inside the images which I have already identified here, the list here. Sorry, those are lists, they are not arrays. Inside the list here. So my images, I'm going to import the images from there. This is the encode list. I will create another list. I'm going to do a looping to encode every image inside the folder faces, and I'm going to convert them first from BGR to RGB, and then I'm going to encode them, and I'm going to append them and place them into the list. Now here I am returning the encode list, which is the list with the encoded images. Next here, I created a variable called encode list known find encoding. So it's going to be what? Using the method encoding, and it's going to encode the images I have in my faces directory. So once the encoding is done, I'm going to print here as you can see, encoding completed. Next, I'm going to open my web camera. So I'm going to use the function. I'm going to call, I set a variable called CAP, and I'm going to open my camera from a function in the CD2 library called video capture. So if I have more than one webcam on my computer, I have to know what is the index or the element of it. So in this case, I'm only having one, so the default one is 0, so I have it 0. So here I'm going to open my webcam. So what is going to be happening here is that I am going to compare. So first, if it's success, while I'm having a loop here, while it's true, I'm going to read from my camera and I'm going to compare the images. So what I did was, the images I have here, I resized them to be 1/4 of their original images, the small scale, and I converted them also from BGR to RGB. The next here, the image that is going to be displayed, that I am going to be seeing, what I will do is that I am going to first use the face location, and I'm going to use the face encoding to be reading from the webcam. So now the picture that's going to be displayed on the webcam is going to be what? It's going to be the face is going to be located on the webcam, and that face that is located is going to be encoded. So once I encode it, I'm going to be trying to find the matches or compare between the images I have in my file folder here, faces, and the image that is on the webcam. So I have here matches, face recognition underscore compare faces. I'm going to compare it with the encoded face that is on the webcam and the encoded pictures in the directory which I have already encoded earlier. So this is what I'm going to encode. So in this case, if the matches I have done, if it's equals to true, then I am going to locate the face, and I'm going to have a rectangle on the face, and I am going to display the name of the person and display identified as well on the webcam. Else, if the picture or the image of the person in the webcam is not the images that I have identified or I have placed in my faces folder, it's going to be displayed as unidentified. So I am going to show it here. I'm going to use IamShow function from the CV2 library. I'm going to open my webcam, and I'm going to set the delay to be 1 in this case here. So I am going to run this file to show what is actually happening. Okay, so now I'm going to show my output once I run my file. Okay, so this is my image, and it's already been detecting me. So that's why you can see my name and it's being shown as identified. So next, I'm going to show a picture of one of my siblings, which I have already identified the image inside the faces folder, meaning I have his image inside that face, inside the faces folder, and the system is going to detect it. So here it detects his face as Musa, and it's being displayed as identified. Next. This one is not someone not identified. It's not in the gallery. So once I put the image, it's supposed to say unidentified. See, as you can see here, it's been set as unidentified because the system does not recognize the person. Next, this one. So here, it identifies the person as Sultan, and it displays identified because the image of the person or the face here is already identified. And this is another picture of someone not in the faces identified, and it's supposed to display unidentified because it does not recognize the face. Okay, it recognizes it as me because it's my cousin's picture. Let me find another picture. So this shows that the results here, they are not very accurate because sometimes certain people are similar, so it detects them as to be the same person. Okay, so this person, it detects it to be unidentified because it's not a picture of someone in the faces they recognize, and at the same time it's not someone close to me. The reason why people or family members or people who are close related, it identifies them to be me, it's because once we encode the images actually and we find the face distance, it's going to have a list of 128 images. Those 128 images, it's basically a comparison of all the similar faces that the person can have, because at different times we might look differently. So due to that, if someone is close to you, as I have shown earlier in my first, at the beginning of the video when I was comparing two pictures, mine and my sister, it shows true as if it's the same person, although it's two different people. So due to the 128 different scales and the images that one picture or one person can take, sometimes two different people, this system or the face recognition might mistake them to be the same person. So basically, this is my project, my final assessment. I have already met one application to determine whether two people are the same or not, and based on that, it's going to show how similar those people are. The next thing is I have identified pictures inside the faces folder, and once opening the webcam, the person detected in the webcam is going to be compared to the pictures in the faces folder. If the person is identified according to the faces in the folder, the name of the person is going to be shown and is going to display identified. In case the person or the image of the person shown is not identified, it's not among the images which is in the faces folder, it's going to be shown to the system is going to show unidentified because it does not recognize who the person is. So this is my project, and thank you, sir. And it's quite long, and thank you for everything, sir. It was a very great semester to be taught by you.